What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about potential Mortal Kombat 1 story DLC. And this all is going to come from one individual. I'm not going to go through all of it because basically, if you do follow it along, they go through every single part of this potential DLC. Like literally chapter by chapter, I think maybe 6 or 7 chapters that we'd be playing as in this game. So what I'll do is we'll just kind of read the first one. I'll tell you who it is, and then if you want to read kind of in the individual elements of each chapter, who you'd play as, what the story would be, you can do so. But it does seem like it's going to happen. And one last thing before we get too far into it, in terms of like a personal opinion, I'm pretty happy this is happening. I guess it does depend on like the price. I did complain just a few days ago, actually, on my third channel. We talked about Mortal Kombat 11, and I actually really like Aftermath, but I didn't buy it myself. I bought Mortal Kombat 11 when it first came out. I played it just now, like a few weeks ago, and I ended up watching Aftermath. $40 for a DLC, even though it is meaty, I guess, in terms of cutscenes. To me, it's not worth it. So we'll see about this one in terms of the price, but I think, you look at the ending of 1, and my personal opinion, it kind of felt rushed. It kind of felt like they were jumping just to kind of jump and forcing things just to kind of force it. So we'll see if potentially the DLC, maybe even like how Aftermath with 11, maybe it can fix some of the stuff, maybe it can make it worse, maybe it can kind of add new dynamics, but maybe it can kind of just expand a little bit, specifically on the last like 2, 3, 4 chapters of Mortal Kombat 1. So we're looking at the Twitter account, The Thin E. And this is a person that's very well versed in Mortal Kombat. I believe this is actually one of the people that we talked about yesterday with Ghostface and multiple other characters. In fact, I do believe Ghostface is part of this thread, all through a data mine thing, right? So you can definitely take it with a grain of salt. That's totally fine. But because of where we're at and because of kind of the details of dialogue and new characters and dialogue for those characters, it feels a whole lot like it's going to be story content, not just additional characters. We talked about with Ghostface, right? You can look at just these individual lines. He's obviously not part of like a major story, but you can tell in like the words people are using, okay, that sounds like Ghostface. These are dialogues that are a lot more meaty, specific to characters, and definitely sounds like they're part of an overall story. So they say, MK1 data mine thread, DLC, theorization, and dialogue. Spoiler alert, includes content from Story Mode 2, and Tower Endings. Story Mode 2, I believe, meaning, in this case, the DLC. The dialogues contain interactions between 5 or 6 characters, but only from the other's perspective. Therefore, it's difficult to determine who exactly is the DLC character supposed to be. However, the leaked Story Mode expansion did contain dialogues that allow us to understand who is referring to what. Reading on will introduce you to spoilers. You have been warned. So again, you can go through this, but that's kind of the point right there. So again, this person does a good job of explaining it, and like I said, you go down, you can look at the characters. There's a couple that are kind of up for debate, but overall, several of them seem very kind of nailed down as to who the DLC will be following, even like chapter by chapter almost. So I like it. I like the idea. Like I said, I guess price kind of depending, but overall, I think it needs, kind of something else to steer it into. I mean, you can kind of tell where it's going. I think they set it up okay, where if 1 ends and you just go into what I assume would be Mortal Kombat 2, you can pick it up from there. Even like the tower endings do add a little bit additional context to a lot of these characters. But, an aftermath to a Mortal Kombat 11, whatever this DLC is to Mortal Kombat 1, I guess the question would be just when would it come out? We know the Character Pack 1, Ghostface seemingly is part of Character Pack 2, so you imagine maybe like beginning of next year is Character Pack 2, maybe even a little bit later. So by the time the DLC comes out, you're probably looking at like next spring or next summer at the earliest, which depending on how you look at it is very far or it's not far at all. I think if you can get story DLC out on this game before a year, you're looking really good. Even when you look at like open world RPG games, sometimes they drop, a DLC, a story DLC within about a year or maybe a little bit after a year. So if they can do it in less than a year, I'd say that's about like industry standard. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.